Buenos dias, Brief Nerdy fans. This is Ryan here with another episode of the Brief Nerdy podcast. Who's laughing? I heard you laughing.
I'm sorry. I just was not expecting Buenos dias.
You know, I try to do something unique each time.
Sorry.
I fail at it, but
keep going. I love you.
This is the I love you too. This is the Brief Nerdy podcast. I am your host. My name is Ryan. Like I said earlier, joining me is my ever laughable. That doesn't sound right. Always here. I don't know. He laughs. His name is Trent, and he's the co-host.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And once again, our super special co-host guest, TJ.
Aloha.
He's very serious all the time. He did not appreciate Buenos dias.
I never laugh. I don't even know how to laugh.
Or he has good mic muting abilities.
Yep, I was muting that laughter.
I honestly thought it was going to be quiet enough that you wouldn't notice, so I'm sorry.
It was pretty quiet. I can't lie. It was pretty quiet. So how you both been?
Excellent.
Ready for another 1 to 10 hour podcast?
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll see how it goes.
I'm excited for this week. This week is insane.
OMG.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be a good week. We have a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in. There's going to be some happy times, there's going to be some angry times, and just, sure, whatever times, depending on your cup of tea. So with that, let's continue our round robin with our Halloween theme that's gone on for about approximately 10 years at this point. But here we go. TV show scene, episode that scared you the most. So we could take any TV show scene or episode that we've seen in our lives, and what is the one that scared us the most? Could be as an adult, could be as a child that scared us, that'd be laughable nowadays, whatever you'd like. Who would like to go first?
I vote that you go first, Ryan.
I will go first then. Mine's an easy answer. It's an episode that garnered a lot of controversy back in the day. It's an X-Files episode. It's the one with the inbred redneck hillbillies with the mom who doesn't have any arms or legs that lives on a skateboard under the bed that they just continually have sexual relations with the brothers, they're her sons, to make more crazy hillbilly people. So it was a crazy, scary episode, and I saw it as a child, and I was pretty much scarred, and that's why I am like I am today. So.
That explains a lot. It's not the video games, it was the X-Files.
It was the X-Files. Nothing can ever compare to it scary-wise. I'm sure it's not tame by today's standards, but it's probably not nearly as bad. I haven't seen the episode since it first aired, so.
Yeah, I saw some clips reviewing it after you told me about it a few weeks ago. It looks a little dated. Like some of the face makeup for the hillbillies is a little bit weird, but I'm sure it would still be pretty scary.
Yeah. So that's mine. It's on a lot of people's lists, and it's a pretty infamous episode, so I'm sure I'm pretty unoriginal in thinking that. But what about you two?
Well, Trent, do you want to go?
Sure. I didn't want to step in your way.
Not everybody at once.
No, I have mine. I'm just being polite.
So mine is also pretty well known to anyone who knows of this show. It's an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer called Hush. And it is there's these evil fairy tale creatures that show up in Sunnydale that open a box when they first show up, and it steals everyone's voices. And so I think for like a record-breaking amount of time, the show has no dialogue whatsoever, and no speaking, screaming, yelling, anything like that. I think it's like 21 minutes or something of the episode. It's pretty awesome. And of course, the doctors, as they're known, are these like suit-wearing, perma-smiling, floating, creepy guys that float through town and cut people's necks open when they can't scream, and it's all very terrifying and creepifying.
They look like if Emperor Palpatine crossed with Slender Man with a ginormous smile on their face.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh.
They are, and they're just so. I mean, not just a smile, but like their mannerisms. They're so happy as they're like going in and slitting people's throats and stuff, and like the one guy hands the scalpel to the other one, and the one's like, "Oh no, you please," and it's so creepy.
Don't they
I
not
watched
walk
it.
either? They kind of just like slide across the ground.
Yeah, they hover, like they float, like a foot above the ground. So I think it won a number of Emmys. It's an incredible episode. If you haven't seen Buffy and you want to just watch like some of the really best episodes, this is one of them you should watch. So there you go.
Good choice. TJ?
Cool. Yeah, so I'll think of something I saw recently. So I've been watching old episodes of Family Ties. And great show, by the way.
All right.
Alex P.
All
Keaton,
right.
probably one of the best television characters of all time. And there's a creepy episode. I think it's called Uncle Arthur, where it's an early one. I think it's only like the 6th episode of the whole show, where Mallory is 15 years old in it, and their good family friend Uncle Arthur makes a pass at her, and he puts the moves on her, and it's very uncomfortable and very creepy. And she tells the mom about it, and the mom gets all upset, and then Uncle Arthur apologizes for it, and then he kisses her. And Uncle Arthur is a full-grown man, and she's a 15-year-old girl. So it's a very weird, creepy episode. I know that's not traditional horror, but it's enough to scare me.
That is enough. You know.
Yeah, psychological horror for sure.
Yeah. So, and I found it so crazy that was the 6th episode of that entire show. I think that show had like 7 or 8 seasons. And those old 80s and early 90s shows, they always had to have those episodes every once in a while that tackled, pretty intense issues. So I'm going to go with that.
No, I totally understand that. Not to get into any spoilers for it, but its subject matter that glosses close to that is what probably disturbed me the most in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
That definitely is not fun.
No.
And can bring up some uneasy feelings within myself as well. So
yes. Well, now that we started the show off right.
Yep. Let's talk about what we're playing. Trent, kick us off.
All right. So as I mentioned a week or so ago, I started playing Fallout again. So I've been playing mostly that, although a little bit of Stellaris. Just to kind of get some of those newer mods and stuff that I was really excited about out of my system in time for Destiny. Well, Discovery 2. Discovery. No, Destiny 2 is tomorrow, and Mario Odyssey. I think I was mixing like Discovery or like Odyssey and Destiny. Anyway, I can't talk.
They all have E's in them.
That's right. So that's what I've been playing. It's very exciting.
Very nice. We also got a little far on Cuphead. We're now in World 3. We have defeated what I have glossed over in random people's discussion of the game so far, trying to remain spoiler-free, but most people have agreed that the dragon and the bee are probably the hardest bosses in the game. Would you consider that semi-true, TJ?
The bee, I felt like the first couple times I fought it was going to be, and then I beat it unexpectedly. So I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought. But that dragon is definitely hard. But I think, like I told you guys, I don't think you've gotten to the robot yet. The robot, I think, gave me more trouble than the dragon did.
I'm trying to think. Has the dragon given us the most problem? I think it might be.
Yeah, it's either the dragon or the zeppelin.
The moon one. The one that ends as the moon.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like the flying levels you guys are struggling with.
Well, the dragon's not flying.
Well, the dragon's not flying. That's right. That's right. I forgot you're hopping on the clouds and stuff.
Might as well have been.
Well, once we figured out the charge shot is what to use there, because we typically use like the homing shot whenever just like platforming is crazy, like at that moment, especially since you had to turn around and shoot him. Since he was behind you and you were platforming to the right. So we're like, oh, we'll just use our homing shots. But then it explodes its fireballs into more projectiles. So you can't use the homing shot.
Yeah, and each fireball takes like 5 or 6 of your homing shots out of play. And so we weren't doing hardly any damage during that final phase.
So like I have the triple red triangle shot that works pretty good, but it didn't work really well there because when I had to get close to him to hit him with it, he'd just hit me straight on with a red fireball, or just a fireball that I wouldn't be able to see coming. So once we figured out charge shot, though, I think that helped us out a lot.
Yeah, it was fun. It's cool that like the different gun types are useful. It's not just like, oh, this one best always.
Yeah.
So that's been fun.
Are there 3 or 4 worlds, TJ?
There are 3 main worlds, and then the final world is shorter.
Okay.
So I wouldn't even consider it like a world.
Cool.
But yeah, that's one of the many things I love about that game is there's 6 different weapons, and it seems like everyone I know that plays it all prefers different weapons. So it's not like everyone, like you were saying, Trent, not everyone's flocking to like the same weapon combo. So it's all just kind of personal preference.
What weapon was your personal preference, TJ?
I usually had charge and homing,
Nice.
but I would mainly use charge for like pretty much everything.
I really want to know how you beat some of those platform levels without shooting a shot.
Yeah, the one with the car with the reverse gravity, like you have to shoot the ducks, don't you?
Wait, the car with the reverse,
where you can like land on the ceiling and by hitting the card in the middle.
Yeah, you hit the card, then it swaps gravity out.
Yeah, no, you actually don't have to. What's most important for beating those levels without shooting is the smoke bomb, where you can dodge like through stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then there are some stages though where you can't take a hit until there's points later in the level where you have to take a hit in order to get past it.
Yeah, I was
so
wondering
you
about
need
those
like
too.
all of your life.
It's like that. There's the one like with the cannons shooting with all the platforms that drop down.
Yeah.
But there's a big wall of like cannons. You just gotta like dash through them, I guess, or get hit by them.
And even in the first platforming level, there's that big robot that shoots acorns, and you think you can jump over it, but you can't, and you can't warp through it. You have to get really high up. So what you need to do is there's a mushroom enemy earlier on, like a little earlier on, and it shoots a pink bullet, and you need it to have it shoot towards you, and you need to take that bullet with you and then parry off of the bullet to jump over it. It's ridiculous.
That
is ridiculous. You're ridiculous for doing it, but I'm jealous. You're pretty awesome.
I still don't know how I did it, to be honest with you.
I'm super impressed, I'll be honest.
Like when Trent and I finish a mission and we get a C, we're like, don't care, we're awesome, we did it.
Well, you know, I mean, when you do that, you unlock that black and white mode, and it even changes the audio up to sound even more old-timey, and I just really wanted that. I was like, you know what, I can't believe you have to do this to unlock it, but I'll give it a shot. And as soon as I beat that first level after trying, I'm like, okay, well, that's 1 out of 6. Maybe I can do this, and I did.
And kudos to them for
the older you... What's that?
I was going to say, just kudos to them for making it just a fun, unlockable mode like that.
Yeah, and you know, it got very frustrating at times, but it was never to the point where I was like, okay, this is impossible. I would get a little further every time.
Kind of feel like that's the game's tagline. Like, frustrating at times, but not impossible.
Well, see, and in some of the reviews I read, some of the main complaints from people was you can't see how close you are to beating the boss until you die.
Yep.
And I don't understand why people complained about that. I think that's kind of cool when you're like, oh man, how close was I? And then you see, oh my gosh, if I would have hit him like a couple more times, I would have got him. Like, I think that's
knockout so much more.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah, because if the bosses had a health bar, you know, then you see like they're almost dead, and I don't know. I don't think it would be the same. I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, I like the unexpected knockout stuff.
Yeah.
We'll Trent and I always go, yes! Like right afterwards. It's always like an audible and arms in the air sort of thing.
Well, especially if it's like our 30th attempt at the stupid boss.
Well, that's great too when it happens when you're doing a run and you're like, okay, like I'm already screwing this up. I should just like quit and restart. But you keep going and then you get the knockout and you're like, oh, well, all right.
It's funny, like Ryan and I get mad at each other in the co-op. Well, not at each other, but at ourselves. Like if we get through the first phase with like already having 2 hits or something, and then when it's like, oh, it's fine. We just keep rezzing each other anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy that you guys are enjoying it. I really want to play it co-op. But yeah, it's great to hear that you guys are having a blast with it. There are rumors that they're hinting at a physical collector's edition. So if they do that, I know, because I'm all in. Any Cuphead stuff. They released Cuphead they're releasing Cuphead figurines through Funko. I think next month they're doing Cuphead, Mugman, and the Devil. And then my buddy John, he was able to pick me up the exclusive New York Comic Con black and white Cuphead and Mugman figures.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
nice. That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm like, I already ordered like a Cuphead shirt. I am completely sold on anything that they release. So if that collector's edition comes out, I'm getting it.
That's awesome.
Nice. All right, well, let's switch gears. This is something I know that you and I are both playing, TJ. Let's talk a little bit about South Park. So I'll go second, if you don't mind, since I've kind of finished the game. I'll give kind of overall spoiler-free thoughts, but why don't you go ahead and give me what you think so far?
Oh yeah, and for anyone listening, I know the game came out, a little less than a week ago, so we're not gonna say like anything spoiler. I'm not even gonna go into like the great details or anything. No. But based on what you told me, I think I'm about halfway through, maybe a little further, about 11 hours in. So it's definitely longer than the first game. I think I beat the first game in about 11, 12 hours. So to know that I'm halfway through this is great because the game doesn't feel like it's being like dragged out or anything. I would say my initial impressions, when you first start, it feels kind of simplistic, and it kind of feels like you're treading on familiar ground, especially if you played the first one. But as it gets going, the game is just full of surprises, and obviously South Park references, characters show up that you weren't expecting. The boss fights have just been hilarious, and they're definitely some of the best parts of the game. They absolutely nailed the look and feel. I mean, when people say that it looks like you're watching the show, it really does. Like, to the point where I don't think they could make it look any better. And yeah, it's cool. I like how there's the different costumes you can equip, but none of them have stats or anything. So you're free to just customize your character to look however you want and change their costume at any time. I hate that in games, especially RPGs, where you're given armor and then you have armor that you like, but then you get new armor that you might not like as much, but the stats are better, so you have to equip it. Instead of in this game, there's like DNA that you can equip, and I forget what are the main other things that you can equip called. Right? Do you remember?
See how they charms.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't think that's it, but yeah, it's like charms where you can up your stats and stuff that way. So visually you don't see a difference, but it does up your stats. So
would you consider them lucky charms?
Oh, speaking of lucky charms, there's like vanilla cinnamon lucky charms coming out anytime now. So
that sounds really good.
They kind of do, yeah.
I think I'm discovering that TJ and I are both cereal connoisseurs.
Oh, well, we could talk about cereal. Maybe we'll do a cereal podcast.
They'll turn into a serial killer podcast.
Oh,
it could be a parody on the hit podcast Serial.
Interesting fact about my love for cereal. Cereal is one of my favorite foods, and I do not drink milk at all. I never have, so I like dry cereal.
What?
Yep.
Have you ever tried like almond milk or anything with it instead?
No, I stay away from milk.
That is so weird.
I know.
I mean, kudos to you for liking what you like. I don't want to cereal shame you.
But see, that's where our cereal critiques could really make a good impact, because you have them with milk, I have them without, so you get both sides of it.
There you go. So like the ones like this is going way too deep, but like Frosted Mini Wheats, you've got to hate those, right? Because they're like made to be soaked in milk.
I love Frosted Mini Wheats, but the trick to eating those dry is you need to put the frosting side on your tongue and then eat it.
Okay. And we've lost everyone at this point. So what else are we playing?
I think we lost Ryan. I don't think.
Yeah, even I've gone at this point, guys.
Ryan's like, F it, I'm going to go eat some cereal.
All right.
Let's switch over to my impressions of South Park. I agree with what TJ said, 100%. I have... Man, you guys can't stop laughing today. Buenos dias.
Sorry that we're having fun.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
I'm super serious now.
Super cereal.
Super cereal. Yep, there you go. We got it. All right.
I had to contribute. I think that's the name of our podcast, Super Cereal.
I think so.
Okay, South Park.
So yeah, I want to mimic everything that TJ said. I have finished the game, so I have a little bit more, I guess, to add. So I guess overall, I still really, really love the game. I would put it below Stick of Truth still, though.
Why is that?
where the battle system is vastly superior, because I think it's enough to kind of hold the game up on its own, and I never ever got tired of the battle system, whereas in Stick of Truth it kind of just became a barrier to get to the next funny cutscene, so to speak.
Yeah.
Whereas just the combat is done really well, and the comedy is active and unique in each fight still. It's not like everyone says like the same thing every time, and there's some repeated dialogue, but they do enough to keep it interesting, especially the boss battles and the unique things that happen during the boss battles, the unique situation it puts you in. Like, I know this is a part you have played through, TJ, but I won't spoil anything, but like there's one where you have to get to the other side of the room. Like, you don't have to worry about killing everybody or beating everybody. You have to get to the other side of the grid, so to speak.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
and enemies keep like coming in to like block you and stuff. They're easy to kill, but it's like, okay, do I stand here and hit them, or do I just go around them to get to the other side further? So yeah.
And there's many more like that, but even to a bigger extreme, especially there towards the end game. Just crazy things that you have to do to win the battle, so to speak, and I love that aspect of it. Why I would put Stick of Truth higher up on the list are just a few things. Story and pacing, I think. I think even though I loved all 20 hours of it, I think the story goes on a little bit too long, which is unfortunate because, that was one thing we were all hoping for with Stick of Truth. We're like, oh, it's only like 11, 12 hours long. We want more. But I think when we got more, it was like, okay, this is going a little bit too long at this point.
Yeah.
I want to get to no spoilers, but the ending also kind of ends on a whimper rather than a bang. I think they want to like emulate an episode of South Park that just kind of abruptly sort of ends, like without a complete resolution. And they kind of do that this time. And so I was like, oh, okay, it's over. And let's see, two more things I would say. They had, with Stick of Truth, they had like the entire previous like 16 or 17 seasons of material to kind of pull from. Whereas this one seems like they pull more exclusively from the past 3 or 4 seasons than.
Oh, yeah. That. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you know what? I didn't think about it that way, but you're right. The more I think about everything I've played so far, it does seem that way.
Yeah, like throwing in like member berries and PC Principle, things like that, more modern-ish things in South Park, which definitely isn't bad, but I definitely prefer classic South Park and some of the bigger episodes there as well.
So I guess my question for you is, do you think they'll make another one?
I don't think so, honestly. I
don't think so either.
I would be extremely happy if they did, but I think that just the way Matt Stone and Trey Parker are, they're not. They probably just like, nah, we're done, and move on to something else.
Well, let's be real. I don't think anyone was expecting this game.
No, it was one of the best surprises of that E3.
Yeah, and then look how much it got delayed since then. Yeah. So.
And then finally, like with the exception of one point, like there was no moment that just made me like my mouth drop and just be like, I can't believe they just did that, or like, you're laughing because it's so absurd. I'll go into some Stick of Truth spoilers, minor spoilers here, but like trying to the stuff going on in the abortion clinic in the first game.
Oh yeah.
You're like stuff like that. You're just mouth just drops. You're like, I can't believe I'm playing this right now. Or the boss battle involving the underpants gnomes, TJ.
Oh, yep.
Like that stuff. You're just like, holy crap! Is this really happening right now? That pretty much never happens in this Fractured Butthole.
Yeah.
So it was lacking kind of those kind of moments, which I wouldn't say is disappointing. It just makes it just not as unique or exciting as the first one. So
yeah,
that's an unfortunate take. But all that aside, it's still a great game. I played the hell out of it. I finished it on Friday, so 3 or 4 days after it came out. And I'd still give it like a good 8.5 or so.
Cool.
I still loved it.
And yeah, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, if you're a South Park fan, there's no reason to play it. You have to play it. But good news, if you never played the first game, this game comes with a free download of the first game on Xbox and PS4. Does PC have the same deal?
They do. Yep.
Yeah, so there you go. So if you've never played the first one, $60, even if you pay full price, don't have like a, Gamers Club Unlocked at Best Buy, or, missed out on the Amazon 20% off, absolutely worth it because you're getting 2 very, very good games.
Ditto. And this one picks up pretty much right after the first one ends too. So
yeah. Yep.
So why don't you go into the rest that you've been playing, TJ, and then I'll go into mine.
Yeah, just a little bit. I've been trying to focus on South Park. I've been kind of busy with some other stuff lately, so that's been taking up a lot of my gaming time. But every once in a while, I'll pick up Tiny Barbarian. It's a game that came out for Switch. I think it's been out on PC for a while, but Switch just got the production company Nicholas. I don't know exactly how they pronounce it. Whenever they release physical Switch games, they include a bunch of free like goodies with them. Like they release Cave Story, The Binding of Isaac, and they come with like stickers or keychains. And my favorite thing is full color instruction manuals, which we don't really get anymore. So Tiny Barbarian's their latest release. It's a 2D platformer, feels somewhere in between like an NES game and a Super Nintendo game, if there was like a console in between those. But yeah, you just play as this really small barbarian, and there's 4 different like full-blown like stories that you could play through. I think they last a couple hours each, but really, really tight controls, like fantastic platforming. The physical version's $30. It's worth it because it comes with a keychain, that instruction book, and like a little pouch. What's weird is the digital version is also $30, and obviously doesn't come with any of that. So if you're gonna buy it, go physical instead. But yeah, if you like just 2D platformers, want something solid, it's very challenging.
Nice.
Definitely worth looking into.
Sounds
Man,
fun.
I really need to get on these Switch titles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice to see, like, because they're not even really considered collector's editions. They're regular price, but usually the first printing comes with that stuff. So it's cool to just know, like, hey, all right, well, I'm going to be an early adopter, get it when it comes out, and then get that extra stuff with it. So
Very nice.
yeah, and those instruction books they come with are just like old Nintendo game instructions.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get me some other Switch games that I'm not going to finish.
Well, we all know that no one's going to be playing anything besides Mario Odyssey at the end of this week. So
Core Mario plus Rabbids.
I'll get back to it eventually. It was just such bad luck that it dropped the same time as the XCOM expansion, and the XCOM expansion just pulled me in.
Yeah, well, I still haven't finished Mario Rabbids either. I'm definitely not done with it, but
nice.
Yeah, just
I'm disappointed in both of you.
Yeah, I mean, I have over 120 hours now in XCOM, so
Mario plus Rabbids is probably on deck for my game of the year so far.
Wow.
What?
It's
right now. It's right now.
It's probably going to be Mario Odyssey. Let's be honest.
I was going to say it's going to be dethroned this week by either Destiny 2 or Mario Odyssey.
But Mario plus Rabbids or Prey right now are my top picks for game of the year so far.
Cool.
Nice.
We'll see how that goes further on.
Yes, we will. All right, but yeah, that's about it.
Cool. So, in addition to Cuphead and South Park, I've played 3 other games this week. It's funny, I mentioned I finished South Park, but I finished 4 games this week.
Wow.
I was a busy boy. So, in addition to South Park, I finished Destiny this week. And by finishing Destiny, I mean I finished like all the story content for all the expansions. I wanted to have that done before Destiny 2 so the story can, just transition right on into Destiny 2. I watched an 1.5 hour long video recapping all the story of Destiny up until Destiny 2. So that just got me ready. I'm ready for Destiny 2 now. So
you have to send me that link to see if it's the same one that I watched, because if not, I'm going to watch it tonight.
Okay. In addition to that, I finished the Dishonored Death of the Outsider expansion. I really enjoyed it. I would say it's not as good as Dishonored 2 was. Just I want to say it's the character you play as, but she's fine. It's the powers that she has. They weren't quite as interesting to me as the powers that the 2 characters you could play as in Dishonored 2 had. But it's a nice bite-sized, like 5-mission version of that game, and the missions tend to go like an hour or 2 in that game if you play stealthily like me. And so I just kind of want to comment that I really like that bite-sized single-player story content. We'll get more into the kind of single-player stuff, later on, but between stuff like that and the Uncharted game that was released, I found I really enjoyed those like just shorter, cheaper priced either standalone releases or DLC expansion kind of things. It's enough to kind of bridge the gap between Dishonored 2 and Dishonored 3 in this case, or like Uncharted, like, hey, we're kind of done with Nathan Drake, let's just have another small-ish Uncharted game with the same engine with these two other characters, and it just turned out to be a really fun Uncharted experience that you could finish in like 6 or 7 hours, and I'm like, that was great. So I'm really liking that, and I'm hoping it gets done more in the future. So
yeah, you feel like you really accomplished something when you could beat these smaller games in between like the bigger ones, because when you're stuck on a game that just takes forever and you just feel like you're falling behind, you know, in the rest of the gaming world. So
yeah.
Well, I think sometimes, especially, I think games get too easily compared between type. Like a truly cinematic gaming experience for me doesn't need to be much longer than 6 to 8 hours long. You know, a great movie is only 2 hours. You know, I think they get too easily compared to like the Battlefields and the Call of Duties, where it's like, oh, if I'm going to pay $60 for a game, I better be playing it for 40, 50 hours. You know.
I'm not gonna lie that I don't want to use the word triggered because that's probably too strong a word, but like that really like irritates me when people like say that kind of stuff.
Yep, I understand.
Because people are like, oh, I'm not gonna play that because it's not worth 10 hours for $60. I'm like, it's not about that,
right?
At all. It's a different kind of experience, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like people always compare it to like going out to a movie. It's like, well, sure, but I mean, like, it was compared to a dinner instead. Like, would you? Like, have you ever paid more than $100 for one meal? And the chances are, a lot of us, like maybe like for prom or something, maybe have or something like that. But it's like most of us probably don't consider that a wasted experience because the food's usually incredible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, everyone takes what they like out of game, or gets what they want or gets the value they want out of the game. You know, whether that's just time invested or the quality of the time invested.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I can't really think of any games where like I played through them and really liked it, but they were short and then made me go like, oh man, that was really cool, but it should have been this price. There's definitely games that I think are overpriced for what you get, but I don't think that really has to do with the amount of time you can invest into them. It's just the overall quality.
Yeah,
like there are some games I hate to be that way, but there's some games where I'm like, okay, I like this game, but I probably would have liked it more if I only paid 20 instead of 30.
Yeah, I have a coworker who was really excited for South Park, and like the day it came out, I'm like, so you're gonna play tonight? He's like, oh no, I'm gonna wait like a year or two until it's like $10. I'll never pay $60 for like a 10 to 20 hour experience. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. You know, if you, especially if you're like in a tight budget situation, you want to make sure you get your bang for your buck.
Oh, totally.
Whatever, but
yeah,
and it's really easy for me to be like, I definitely got my money out of Ark. I'm over like 600 hours in that game now. But at the same time, like I would take another Mass Effect game over another Ark.
And that will never happen.
Not never. Just not.
It will never happen the way the original trilogy did. It'll be a Destiny experience. But we'll get to that.
Let's just get to it now.
And then I finished Outlast 2. Like you, TJ, I wanted to like kind of finish off all the games before Mario, but I also wanted to include that for Destiny since Destiny 2 comes out tomorrow for PC. So last night I was up until 2 a.m. just like I gotta finish Outlast. So I finished that as well, and kind of like the theme I've been going with for the past couple of games. It was great, just not as good as the first one. This one took place in rural Arizona, where there's a Christian cult that thinks you're the Antichrist, basically, and so they're trying to kill you. Whereas the first game took place in a mental asylum that you're just trying to escape. You're trying to escape, this mid-Arizona village or whatever, but so even though it was really, really good, just a couple of complaints I have are, when you're in a mental asylum, you can kind of get a good direction of linearity where you need to go to finish your objectives. Whereas like in this one, you're like running around cornfields and other stuff. And so sometimes, especially inside of a cornfield, it gets very disorienting, like where you're supposed to be going.
Oh, yeah.
And so you get a lot of, I want to say, cheap deaths because you're like, okay, I'm wandering. Oh, there's a guy and he killed me. And like, I have no idea where I'm going. And so I would die like maybe 6 or 7 times in the same area just because like I was kind of wandering and trying to sneak around and I had no idea like where to go, which could be frustrating sometimes. So, but other than that, it was a great game. I loved it. Outlast 1 remains probably my scariest video game ever and one of my favorite scary games ever. And I feel Outlast 2 was a worthy successor. So
Nice.
that's
Cool.
enough from me.
Yeah, that was really funny, by the way, when you were up finishing that last night, coming back upstairs, and all I'm hearing is like this woman like, ah! He's like screaming, and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
And then you realize that was Ryan screaming.
Yep.
I wish I would have recorded my gameplay. It's probably the first horror game I've played on PC with mouse and keyboard. Because even though I've been a PC gamer for a few years now, I only started adapting mouse and keyboard last year, I think. So I think this is the first, and I played Resident Evil 7 with a controller since I played it on my living room TV. But I think this is the first horror game I've ever played with mouse and keyboard. So you can always tell because when I jump, the screen just wiggles or jumps super crazy. So I should have been recording gameplay at some point just to see my crazy mouse movements whenever I get scared or jump or something. It's pretty funny.
That's amazing.
All right, well, let's get into what we're watching. I'll go and kick this off just by saying I don't really have much new. Star Trek this week was pretty good. I'd say not quite as good as past episodes, but it still wasn't a bad episode at all. It was still a great episode. I'm really happy with the way the show is going and getting into future podcast spoilers here, but I'm thankful it has been renewed for a second season. So,
Woo.
But yeah, I didn't have much. I don't say I didn't have much time. I focused on my video games this week and not much television watching, so don't have much more to add.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff right now.
Yep.
Hard to balance it all.
You'll have a new show this Friday.
Yep.
Yes, you will.
It'll be done by the next podcast.
Yes, I will. Oh, so excited.
All right, Trent, what about you?
So I've been watching mostly the CW verse and Survivor are the ones I've been watching on my own. Then I watched Star Trek, Rebels, and Orville with you. There wasn't an Orville this week, which made me sad.
We do need to talk Rebels. That was Jillian's request, and now we've seen it.
We do. Do you want to wait till the question
Sure.
later or do it now?
Yeah, let's wait until later.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying everything so far. There's a few more, I'm still trying to finish up the challenge. I thought that I missed it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it still isn't over. So I'm like, it's I don't dislike the season, but I just kind of want it to be over at this point. And yeah, I'm really, really liking Riverdale right now. I think it's going in a good direction. And I'm still really enjoying Legends of Tomorrow out of all 4 of the CW hero shows. So I never in a million years thought I would say that. But they finally have embraced their craziness and how ridiculous they are, and it's made it that much better. So
Well, good.
yeah.
Yeah, I really do want to check out Riverdale too. I keep hearing more and more stuff about it, and I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards watching that show, giving it a shot. So
I'm kind of doing the same thing too, regardless of my CW boycott.
Yes. Oh, that was another story I was going to bring up, so I'll just go ahead and bring it up now since I didn't link it in the notes. I was really upset when Hulu last year made a deal with Netflix, or not Hulu, CW made a deal with Netflix to put all of their shows on 8 days after they finish the season airs. And so they're on Netflix almost immediately, but that means they lost their deal to be able to put them on Hulu because Netflix wanted exclusive streaming rights. And I was so upset. And I'm like, this is a bad decision, blah, blah, blah. People aren't going to watch during the season and blah, blah, blah. So just goes to show you once again that I am completely unable to make good market decisions and why it's a good thing I'm not running a business. Netflix viewership ratings for Riverdale, we don't know for sure because Netflix doesn't release their viewer numbers, but the number of times they were trending on Twitter or on Google searches over the summer was crazy. And I don't have all the numbers with me right now, but they basically almost doubled their premiere viewership this season for season 2.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it's just holy crap.
The article you sent me likened it to Breaking Bad because the same thing kind of happened. Breaking Bad really struggled its first 3 seasons with ratings. Enough, and it was literally between season 3 and 4 that they put it all on Netflix. And then hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler for you, Trent, but season 4 ends in a way that it could be the ending, even though things aren't fully resolved, just because like I said, up until that point, or while they were making season 4, the ratings had been crap for seasons 1 through 3. They kind of barely hung on. But then in between season 3 and 4, they released on Netflix, and then so season 4's ratings were just blew up, and it was just crazy. And then by the time season 5 rolled around, it was breaking records.
That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely still a teen show, and it's definitely still a CW show. But when you compare it to like shows, it's really good. So if you guys watch it, I will be very excited.
Nice.
Yeah. I will definitely let you know.
Oh, and then Breaking Bad. Are we in season 4 now?
Yes.
So
4 or 5 episodes in season 4.
We are moving right along.
You guys are moving along.
Things are crazy. Yeah, well, there was one night randomly, it was just like me, Ryan, and Maggie down on the couch, and we're just like, another. And we watched like 3 or 4 episodes just like in one sitting.
I'm surprised you don't do that every time, to be honest. You kind of want to every time.
But... I really do. It ended this last time, and I'm like, what? No, I have other things I need to do. But it's a really good show. I'm enjoying it.
Best is yet to come.
I know. I'm excited.
And you have Better Call Saul afterwards, which is also phenomenal.
Yes, very good.
So that's what I'm watching.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, TJ, give us a skinny on Blade Runner.
Oh boy, I don't want to talk.
I've been anxiously awaiting this moment. You will talk about it.
I know. I was gonna say I don't want to talk about it too much. So I watched the original Blade Runner the night before. I never saw it. I watched it the night before I saw Blade Runner 2049. Was not impressed with the original Blade Runner at all. Felt like I was missing something. I don't know. Looked up like the theories and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, that is what I got from it. Went into this with higher expectations just because it was getting such great reviews and people are just raving about it. I did not like it at all. I mean, it's so hard to even explain why I didn't like it. I just felt like it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. I feel like nothing really happens, and that's how I kind of felt with the first one.
Yeah.
And even visually, like it has a cool look to it, but I feel like it's missing something. Like it's so hard to even like put into words how I feel about like this movie. But when my wife and I saw it, we were talking about it after, and we were both like, did we just miss something? Like, did something just go over our heads? You know, we had our theories and we looked it up just like the first movie, and we're like, no, we got it. We just didn't really care for it. Yeah. And I mean, it was one of those movies where I wasn't sitting in the theater going like, please end, please end. But some of the marketing's a little misleading too, because Harrison Ford, I mean, I don't think this is a spoiler, but he doesn't show up until like the last hour of the movie. And even then, he's not really in it that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't understand, in all of movie history and like the famous movie characters and stuff, I do not understand the love that people have for Harrison Ford's character of Deckard. I don't get it. I don't see what the draw is to his character. I don't really see like what he brings to the table. I don't find him to be very interesting. I want to
say that Harrison Ford's acting in it is very wooden and not super believable.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem like he's really into it, and that's how it is in this one too. It's just, I see Harrison Ford, like even in Force Awakens, you know, you see older Harrison Ford, but eventually he becomes Han Solo again. You're like, all right, he's Han Solo. And even in Crystal Skull, it's like, okay, well, this is a little hard to believe, but he's still Indiana Jones. And in this, I'm just like, I don't even think it's his fault. I think it's just the character. It's just a boring character.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's people listening to this that love Blade Runner, and I'm not even trying to knock it or anything. It's just one of those movies that I really don't think it's for me. I would love to have a great one-on-one conversation with someone that loves it. I have a few friends that really, really love it, so I am looking forward to talking to them about it, because maybe they'll sway my opinion. Maybe they'll help me see it, you know, from a different angle or in a different light. But I know you guys have Movie Pass, but I wouldn't even go see it then. I would just, if you really want to watch it, just wait till it's out.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's kind of what I decided on based on your recommendation.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, anyone that really loves it, you know, I would love for you to sway my opinion on it. You feel free to contact me.
Send an email to briefnerdity@gmail.com.
So yeah, and then as far as other stuff, I've been kind of in like a movie slump. I also saw that movie The Foreigner, the new Jackie Chan movie. Really cool to see him back in like an action, oriented role. Another movie where I think it's just a lot of false advertising because Jackie Chan is not even in the movie that much. And most of the action scenes with him, they showed a lot of it in the trailer, and the scenes don't last for very long.
Wah, wah.
I feel like this movie was written without his character, a lot different, and then someone just said, hey, you know what, it would be cool if we made this part for Jackie Chan. Let's put him in it and then kind of write some of the action and stuff around that character.
Huh.
So even that, I was like, I don't mind like a good mindless like action movie, that's fine. But even this, I'm just like, every time Jackie Chan was not on screen, I was so bored. You just don't care for any of the characters. Even Pierce Brosnan does this Irish accent that's just so distracting the whole time. It's so hard to even listen to him. But yeah, I can't even recommend that. It's not fun, Jackie Chan. It's just, I don't know.
Curse you, Movie Pass.
Yeah, but hey, I can't be mad for spending money because I didn't spend any money on it. So
It's true.
Yeah, speaking of which, I finally got my movie pass and I haven't used it yet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there hasn't really been too much of a reason to go and use it the past couple weeks, but there's a lot of good stuff coming out though.
Yes, I'm excited.
I'd imagine it would be coming on digital here soon, so you can see it that way.
Yeah, I hope so. It's funny you said that because my sister, she always has bad experiences when she goes to the movie, and I feel bad because my wife and I go to the movies quite a bit, and it's rare that we have a really bad experience just with like the other people in the theater causing commotion or whatever.
Yeah.
But my sister, she just has horrible luck when she goes to the theater, so it's hard to get her to see a lot of these movies. But she messaged me the other day and she saw Annabelle, was it Annabelle or Ouija? I think it was the new Ouija movie. And she messaged me and she's like, look at that, it's already out on digital. I feel like it's not even worth it to go to the movies. And I looked it up, and that movie came out August 10th. And it's now on digital.
It's crazy how fast that process is.
Yeah, that's really quick. And I know that's a horror movie. It did very well, but horror movies can only, their legs are only so long in the movie theater, because people are moving on to other stuff. But that is really quick to come out. And it does kind of make you question, like, is it worth it to go see all the movies you want to see at the theater, or just save it for the big stuff?
Yeah, it's a good question. Excuse me. I thought that with MoviePass I'd go to see movies more. I think I'm still netting in the positive. I'm actually a nerd. I have an Excel spreadsheet to make sure I'm getting my money's worth from MoviePass. But I haven't used it as much as I thought. Like I wanted to go see Lego, but I never got around to seeing it. Bladerunner, I wanted to see, but decided just to wait on that one.
Yeah. Well, with MoviePass, you got to figure even if you see 2 movies, like during the week where it's not like the cheaper like Tuesday or whatever your theater has, it's still worth it. And I mean, even if you see one, on opening day or on a week where it's normal price, you're still saving money.
Yeah, totally.
So,
yeah, it is. It's that fall slump time, and a lot of the good stuff's about to start coming out again. So
yeah,
I'll probably see a second showing of like, Thor and all that stuff with it. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because I did buy tickets like Star Wars and Thor, like that's IMAX, so I can't use MoviePass for that, but I'm sure if I like those movies, I'll just use MoviePass to go see it again.
Yep.
But speaking of movies, really quick, I know you guys were talking about this last week, but didn't have a lot of experience with it, that Movies Anywhere that was launched.
Yeah.
Where it takes your digital movies from iTunes, Vudu, your Ultraviolet stuff, Amazon, and Google Play, and Disney, combines them all into one service. And I thought that was awesome because you open one app and all your movies are there. You can put them on the TV if you want. But what I didn't realize about it was it also puts your movies from one service into another. So if you had movies that were only in Vudu and not in iTunes, now iTunes and Vudu both have the same movies.
Really?
Yeah. So it's really cool because I kind of lean more towards the iTunes. Like that even prevented me from buying some movies. I'm like, oh, digital. Wait, it's only Ultraviolet. I'd rather have it on iTunes. But now it doesn't matter. Like I got Baby Driver. Baby Driver went on sale this week, and it came with digital. It was only ultraviolet. Put it in, instantly showed up in iTunes. It's awesome.
That's way cool.
I
So
didn't know that.
yeah. So it's like now I was always like physical media when it came to movies, but now just the convenience. Like now when I boot up, Vudu or iTunes, and I see all those digital movies, and it's almost like going through Netflix, but only movies that you really like.
Yeah.
So there's no like stinkers in there or anything. It's just it's cool, and I feel like a lot of people don't really know about this movies anywhere. And if you have digital movies, I have friends that bought movies but haven't even redeemed their digital movies because they were only ultraviolet. So they're like, well, I don't use that service, so why should I even bother redeeming them? Now they're going back, redeeming them, and
Holy
getting
crap.
all the movies that they missed out on.
Yeah, I'm seeing all these movies are in my Google playlist now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And what I love about this too is like iTunes, that was my like go-to service, but they would very rarely have movies on sale, and even when they did, they weren't very good. But Vudu has like amazing sales on their digital movies, so now you can buy it on there and throws it in everything else.
I really want to know how Apple agreed to this.
I can't believe it. I could see the other ones doing it, but I can't believe Apple agreed to it.
Yeah.
So
Seriously, there must have been some Disney strong arming or something in this.
yeah, I think you're right.
No, there is one little thing that's annoyed me so far. I went to go buy a movie the other day in it, and it does show you which of the 4 platforms you can buy it from, but you have to go to that platform to see the price.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
That bugged me a little bit.
And even another thing to kind of like piggyback off that, like Vudu, for example, it's like, oh, you can buy it in Vudu. If you go to the Vudu app, the Vudu app doesn't let you buy movies. You can view the store, but you can't buy them within the app. You need to go to the website.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, so really weird design choice. And keep in mind, not all movie companies have signed up to this, so there are some movies that don't work with it and like transfer over. But that's something, if they can pick up the other movie companies, it'll just instantly work. So
forgive me, I might be wrong on this, but isn't that just more of an Apple thing where they don't want you to have access to another storefront that's a competition to theirs through their apps, so to speak? Like I know, like if you use Google Play Music on an Apple device, like you can't buy any Google Play songs from there. You can only access the library that you own already.
Oh, I didn't think about it. Maybe that is the case, because yeah, like it's on an iPhone that I have those apps, so maybe that is it. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because like I convinced my mom to start using Google Play Music because it has the free 10,000 songs or whatever. And so like there was a couple times where she was like, "Oh, hey, could I like just buy songs on here and add them that way?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, Android user, I never thought about it, but it looked, but there's no way to buy a Google Play song on an Apple device, and so I literally had to like rig her. So she could buy it on iTunes, and her computer automatically downloads the song into the folder on her computer that Google Play monitors for the free unlimited songs. So she has to buy the song on iTunes, and then next time she turns on her computer, it'll automatically upload it to Google Play. So I had to like set that up for her, and I was like, well, that's inconvenient, but all right.
Yeah.
So that might be it.
Yeah, now I'm curious. I'm gonna download the Vudu app on my Android and see what I can do.
Yeah. Let me know what you find. And another thing too, not to like keep talking about this, but like I mentioned earlier, I can't think of any movies, like new movies that I didn't own physically that I just bought digitally, like right when they came out. But one thing that was cool, I went on eBay and there were people were selling digital codes for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Spider-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was $6, Spider-Man was $8, and that was even before it came out on physical. I got the codes right away. Got them, yeah. Put it in all the services, watched it, and like it's one thing having the physical disc and like putting it in, that whole process, and it kind of makes you like feel good. But once you're watching the movie, it doesn't really matter where you're watching it. Yeah, you just forget about it instantly. So
it's a fantastic service, and stuff like this is what we need to drive just the adoption of digital.
Yes,
because I mean it's something we've talked about. We're afraid that Netflix, that with CBS All Access and Disney creating their own, and of course Hulu being there, and then a bunch of others, like we're just going to end up paying like 8 different companies $10 a month to access their streaming libraries. And
well, and the biggest issue I had with digital was like, okay, we have an Apple TV on like our upstairs living room TV, but that TV is not a smart TV, so we can only do whatever's on Apple TV. downstairs we don't have an Apple TV, but there is a smart TV, but that can't access iTunes.
Yep.
So it's like, it was so frustrating knowing like, okay, we have these movies, we can't watch them downstairs. We have these movies, can't watch them upstairs. So now, like, that even like changes everything. And I'm thinking too, with these movies coming out like weeks in advance on digital before physical, like I loved it so much, and my wife did too, that when that comes out on digital, if it comes out like 2 or 3 weeks before, I'm going to be very tempted to just pay the full price and get it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Whoever, Disney, if you're responsible for this, thank you for making this finally happen.
It's quite awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hulu is trying to kind of become something like this in the TV and streaming market. I don't know if you guys have seen their add-ons that they're doing now.
No.
But you can actually subscribe to Hulu or HBO through Hulu now. Their HBO Now stuff.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
it's the same price and everything, and they also have what are the other ones that they've got? Showtime and Cinemax, I think.
Huh.
I really wish they'd make it cheaper though. That would just seal the deal for so many people. Be like, HBO Go is $9 or $10 on its own, but it's $7 if you add on to Hulu. Like, that'd just be a game changer.
Yeah,
because like I have Comcast and HBO is $15 a month if I go through them. So it's like, or then there's HBO Go and that's the same price. So it's like, why wouldn't I just get it through cable then? So and then when you have cable, you have access to all that stuff on the apps. So yeah, I wish there was. I wish it was a bit cheaper.
Someday we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right, you boys ready to break into the news?
Let's do it. Break into the nudes.
Only of you, TJ.
No, you need to break down a wall in my house to find the nudes.
Oh yeah. What are you talking about? You provide them freely every week.
Well, that's true.
So I guess there's a bit of good and bad here. I mean, obviously the news is pretty much all bad, but I guess the good news is that it happened all like Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon after we recorded the podcast. And so I was able to get like all the anger out of my system. And Trent can attest, like I was like super raging Ryan that day that this news came out.
It was pretty bad.
I was smash everything. I was so angry.
I was only getting it through messages on Facebook, and I could tell that you were very angry.
I was pretty upset. It was pretty bad. But anywho, first item in news we want to go over is EA closes Visceral Studios, and Project Ragtag, which was the project name of the new Star Wars single-player experience that they were making, is shifting focus. I really want to. Well, this probably be. I want this to kind of be our main topic. If we don't spend too much time on it, that's okay. But so if it's okay, I kind of just want to read like maybe the first 2 paragraphs or so of EA's statement right here, and then we can kind of discuss. They say, our industry is evolving faster and more dramatically than ever before. The games we want to play and spend time with, the experiences we want to have in those games, and the way we play, all those things are continually changing. So is the way games are made. In this fast and moving space, we're always focused on creating experiences that our players want to play. And today that means making a significant change with one of our upcoming titles. Our Visceral Studio has been developing an action-adventure title set in the Star Wars universe. In its current form, it's shaping up to be a story-based linear adventure game. Throughout the development process, we have been testing the game concepts with players, listening to the feedback about what and how they want to play, and closely tracking fundamental shifts in the marketplace. It has become clear that to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come, we need to pivot the design. We will maintain the stunning visuals, authenticity in the Star Wars universe, and focus on bringing a Star Wars story to life. Importantly, we are shifting the game to be a broader experience that allows for more variety and player agency, leaning into the capabilities of our Frostbite engine, and reimagining central elements of the game to give players a Star Wars adventure of greater depth and breadth to explore. After that, they also announced they're closing their Visceral studio, which is the old EA Redwood Shores, and focusing this project to be led by the EA Vancouver team, which I want to add usually makes their sports games like FIFA. And they kind of talk about Battlefront 2 and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, blah, blah, blah. So I'll go ahead and start. What I get out of this, and what was anger-inducing for me, is that they kind of, it seems like the way they talk about, and I'm going to do a lot of air quotes or seemings like they're like, oh, well, this is a linear single-player story experience, and we don't really want that. That doesn't really make us a lot of money. So we need to pivot this design to be something that keeps players around to buy microtransactions or loot boxes with for long periods of time, versus a single game that they buy and maybe buy some DLC for.
And it was super frustrating in the release. It made it seem like, oh, this is what gamers want. Like, we listen to your feedback, and this is really what you guys want. And I'm like, you can go F yourself, because this is not what most, at least, it's not what I want from it. Like, I enjoy games that have microtransactions, and I enjoy them, like, for the design that they are. I also like single-player games, and I want them to keep existing.
Ditto. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because we're all getting excited for Destiny 2 coming out tomorrow. But at the same time, like, out of everything that could have possibly been done by EA as a Star Wars game, besides a remake of KOTOR or KOTOR 3, in my mind, would be like Star Wars Uncharted. And that's what they were doing. It was Star Wars Uncharted. So when they announced that title, I was giddy with excitement. And so now to seem like they're pivoting that design into what seems to be a Destiny clone. We don't know what it will end up being, of course, but something along that lines of like, oh, something with progression and keep you coming back, you know, to some microtransactions, you know. So
right. It just doesn't make sense, like, why they would want to compete with themselves for, like, Anthem, for example.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
And EA is one of the market leaders in the industry, and it sets a bad trend for them to phrase this like this.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it may make anyone else, you know, reconsider doing any kind of good single-player experience.
Yeah. It just really bugs me when it's like, oh, we're looking at market trends. I was like, you're EA. Like, you're going to help set the market trends. Like, you need to be a leader and not, like, blame it on the industry for these decisions.
It's funny. Like, if this is a Destiny project, they said here, lastly, while we originally expect this game to launch in 2019, or our fiscal year 2019, which starts in March of 2018, we're now looking at a new time frame that we'll announce in the future. So we're probably going to be like 2020 or later at this point. I mean, like, is the Destiny craze going to be around by then? Also, in Trent, like, Destiny 3 is literally probably going to come out in 2020. So, like, what? Like, this is them trying to catch up to something that could potentially be dead by that time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of holding my thoughts until you're done. I don't take my silence as me not listening. I'm just
okay. Before I'll just kind of recap that, you know, it's really upsetting to me, mainly because, like, those linear Uncharted-esque type of fun story experiences are my favorite experiences in gaming overall. And I feel like the move to just the always online, you know, living worlds, Destiny-ish sort of stuff, or just open world map design, you know, whatever that kind of stuff may be, is just a trend I don't want to see continue. Hopefully indies can take up that level, but I still think they have a little bit to go to get to the level that I'm happy with as far as a fun action adventure story kind of experience. And I'm also sad that, you know, Visceral is gone. You know, I love the Dead Space games, so
yeah, this makes me really afraid for, like, the next Dragon Age game, for example.
Yeah,
like, we haven't heard anything about it yet. I don't know.
So that's all I have to say to start off, I guess. TJ, did you have? I'm really curious at what you have to say now.
So here's the problem. I think the three of us, I think I can safely say that we are definitely more traditional gamers. I mean, we've grown up playing games, you know, we're in our, like, early 30s now. You know, we're getting a little older, and we've been playing games our whole lives. This younger crowd, you know, they might have also been playing games their whole life, but they've been playing a different type of game. So when EA makes the statement, oh, this isn't what gamers wanted, so we're going to give the gamers what they want, they have to say that with numbers to back it up. They must see the data, and yeah, that doesn't mean they're not speaking to us, but they have to be speaking to majority. They have to see that they're making money. So it's it's very frustrating to see, like, this game especially get canceled, and they're going to go like the Destiny route, the multiplayer like focus and everything like that, the microtransactions. But if that's what people are paying for, can you really blame these companies for doing that?
I agree with you 100%.
And that's what's frustrating. It's like these companies, yeah, they could, handle it a different way, but they would not be making as much money. And the whole problem is, I really wonder if this kind of vision that like game developers have will change when games ultimately go all digital. Because when they go all digital, there's no way you can sell these games and trade them in. People aren't buying used games anymore. And that's the problem with these one-time single-player games. Like Uncharted, you get it, you beat it. If you're not interested in that like multiplayer, since it wasn't a main focus, you're going to trade it in. Then people are going to buy it used. The developers see none of that money. And then, it's going to hurt their sales overall. And that's what these companies are trying to prevent. That's why these companies release these single-player games, and then even if they're not multiplayer focused, they have a season pass or they have some sort of DLC. Like, look at that friggin' Mario Rabbids has a season pass.
Yeah.
And it's like that game is full of content. You played through it, you got your money's worth. You said it might be it might be your game of the year. But majority of gamers, they're going to get through it and they're going to go, okay, well, I'm never going to play this again. There's no reason to. Nothing new's coming out, so I'm getting rid of it. So these companies have to be making these decisions based on revenue and trends in the industry. And it's sad to say that that's what majority of gamers look for nowadays.
I'm going to throw a little bit of argument in this one. I think that it is profitable, and I think it is more profitable than their previous model. I don't know that we can say that majority of gamers are the ones that actually pay for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have the majority of gamers who will play these games, and then you have a number of people who will spend, like $500 on microtransactions, because they can afford it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And that's hugely profitable. That's like, 100, or I can't do math, but 10 more copies of the game to this one person that they wouldn't have otherwise sold. And so I think there's a really careful distinction you have to make between what the majority of gamers want and what the majority of gamers are playing and are willing to put up with, while the other small minority is paying into.
And I totally get your point. And I definitely, I don't disagree, but these companies have to know what they're doing with their marketing research. They have to. I'm sure there's still a huge chunk of gamers like us where they're not interested in that. And, they will, shell out, their money for these single player only games and not really ever dive into microtransactions. But I think there's a lot more people that do that stuff than we think there are.
No, I think there are plenty, and that's what I'm saying. It is undeniably more profitable to make that kind of a game as compared to Uncharted, for example. Ryan and I are still going to be playing Star Wars, even though Battlefront, even though it's likely the same type of thing, even though we're both frustrated about it.
Yeah,
we're still going to play it. I would love for there to be a Star Wars, Skyrim, or Uncharted game to play instead. Or just in addition to, I don't know. It's weird to talk about. I'm not saying that it's definitely not more profitable, because it is. I mean,
mm-hmm.
you can get 2 or 3 times the amount of the game out of your average gamer. It uncaps the potential, income from each game.
But seeing at the end of the day, these are businesses. Their whole goal is to make money, and they want to make stuff that people like, but they want people to like it so more people buy it. I don't think any of these companies, even Nintendo, as much as I love Nintendo, I don't think their whole goal is to, let's just make a fun game that really just, hits home with this group of gamers. We know it's not going to sell very well, but the people that do buy it are really going to love it. I don't think any developer, thinks that way, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make money. Yeah, yeah.
I kind of think Nintendo is a little bit in that way. in just that they don't care. I mean, like they went an entire generation not caring that their system tanked, really.
Well, yeah, I think Nintendo. It's just they have a brand to uphold, and that brand has always been quality and family friendly, so to speak,
Right.
amongst other things. And so I think as long as they retain that, they know that their customers will come back.
Yeah, and it's like I don't need like games like Uncharted to be, something that you expect every year to show up like like 3 Avengers movies or whatever.
Mhm.
But I would love for it to be like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a good action movie that's not quite that expensive, but it's still good and that people liked.
I have a couple of thoughts if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
So, kind of in response to both of you. So, TJ, I agree 100% that it is well within EA's rights and best interest to pursue the most profitable course of action. And that's why I'm not just 100% putting the blame on EA. It's like, who do you blame for the paparazzi books you look at when you go through the checkout at the grocery store? Do you blame the people taking the pictures, or do you blame the people buying the magazines?
Yeah.
And so it's the behavior of the gamers and that has caused EA to make this decision. I could be mad at EA for it, which I am, but I'm also mad at the fact that this guy insider at BioWare said that this one guy spent like over $50,000 in Mass Effect 3 microtransactions.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's a point of ridiculousness. And so, but just as someone who prefers one type of game over another, it more makes me sad. I mean, I went through the angry phase, and again, I wasn't mad at EA, I was mad at people, but it's more just like sad that I am now losing this game that I could have potentially have, and who knows how many other good single player games I've missed out on or will miss out on as people go and pursue this model. And I think that's the biggest thing here. Another concern I have with EA chasing this trend, because you mentioned that they have the data. I have no doubt that they have that data, but I don't know if it's the right data. They don't know if it's the right data. They're making a call based on data, but Microsoft also had the data to say that people want motion controllers and motion movement, so they made the Kinect twice. And we saw how well that worked out. Same thing with PlayStation, the PlayStation Eye, but people just aren't into that. That was just Nintendo, struck oil with that, and it was kind of Nintendo's one and done deal, and no one else really wanted to pursue that outside of Nintendo's consoles. Destiny might be the same thing. I mean, the Destiny is a big enough game and experience that almost requires you to keep coming back to it that I would imagine that most gamers are only going to have or dedicate their time to one, maybe two. I think of it as like the old MMO days. Like there's a reason World of Warcraft is number one and always has been number one, and everyone tried to emulate World of Warcraft's success and all failed at it. Because World of Warcraft was the quote-unquote first. It was the first mainstream best MMO, even though there's plenty of MMOs before it, but it was the first one to nail it. And everyone who came along just couldn't even keep up with a fraction of the success that World of Warcraft had. Destiny has had a couple year head start to where its only other competition was The Division, up until still. I mean, I don't think there'll be another one until the release of Anthem. And I think at that point, so many people are just going to be so invested in the Destiny universe and its systems and the time they've put in already that I don't think anyone is really going to dedicate as much time into multiple. They might be done with Destiny at some point and then switch gears over, but I don't think that many people are going to have more than one at a time. And that being said, variety is a spice of life. If not to say that the future is only going to have that type, but if we only have like 2 or 3 types of games in the future, again, being over dramatic, that's not going to be the case. I like to mix and match my games personally as a palate cleanser. When I do like a big open world game like Assassin's Creed, where I have like a billion things on my mini map and do side quests and stuff like that, usually after that, my go-to is a small indie title, so I could kind of palate cleanse and switch things up. So if every type of game is either a microtransaction based single player game, esque like Shadow of War, or a multiplayer loot box shooter like Battlefront 2 or Overwatch, and then a Destiny-like clone. If that's all I have to play, what do I have, besides indie titles, of course, what do I have to go to? People who uniquely make AAA good single-player storytelling experiences, I think, will have a good corner of the market because they'll be the only ones releasing them, and so you'll be like an oasis in a desert for the people who really crave that type of experience. So I think for anyone like EA to seemingly go all in on the Destiny or Battlefront, whatever they're doing with this game, is dangerous, and I think it may end up hurting them in the long run. I think just having all your eggs in one basket is not advisable, in my opinion.
But see, you say it's dangerous, but if it does end up hurting them, then that means their call was wrong. So then they have to go back to what they were doing before, meaning they're not just going to continue to do something that's not as successful as they were hoping it would be. So I can't see it getting to the point. I mean, well, I don't know.
But that's just like 5-7 years I have with no EA single player games, theoretically. And well, they have my Mass Effect. They have my Star Wars license. They still have the license to Dead Space, even if Visceral's dead. So that just tells me that I'm not going to get another Mass Effect game, at least in the vein of the original trilogy. We already kind of knew that, but it seems even more dire now. If that makes sense.
But how did Mass Effect sell?
It's sold. I think it sold at expectations, at or slightly below, but it wasn't a failure or bomb by any means. It was their #1 title for the quarter.
That's what I don't understand.
I think Mass Effect got shelved because of its reception. Like the internet and general audience reception of that is very negative generally, and so they need to let that time go by. And like I said earlier, like maybe release a remaster of the trilogy so people can play that and be like, oh yeah, remember Mass Effect is great, not just a good game, but a great game, and then people will start thinking positively about Mass Effect again. And marketing wise, that's when you release a Mass Effect sequel.
And if the Mass Effect fan base is anything like the Star Trek fan base, good luck with that.
And also, I want to point out, I know I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to my Mass Effect fandom, but I don't think a single video game franchise outside of the big ones like Mario and Zelda and those staples of the video game industry have sold more merchandise than Mass Effect.
Really?
Yeah. Mass Effect has comics and novels and action figures. I mean, BioWare has its own store with tons of apparel on it. Anytime I'm at any kind of Comic-Con, there's always booths with tons of Mass Effect stuff. And I haven't looked at actual numbers, but it's very apparent that it's definitely EA's biggest merchandising opportunity.
That's a really good question, actually. What is the most profitable merchandise based on a gaming series?
I would definitely say Minecraft and Nintendo at this point.
Well, yeah.
But for EA, it would be. I mean, you can't really consider Star Wars because that's not really even their thing.
Yeah.
And why is the merchandising so good? It's because the story and the characters were so great. I mean, anyone who's played Mass Effect would love the freaking L-Core that when you squeeze it, it goes affirmative statement, I love you. that is a thing that exists. So, I mean...
That's amazing. I'm just worried about this is a whole other topic that we should probably not get into because we're already an hour 20 into the show, but seeing what I saw with the Star Trek franchise and just that it kind of went out on a dud with Enterprise. It was, some people liked it, some people thought it was meh. Its reception was down. It went a long time without being renewed, and now everybody is comparing it with their rose-colored glasses, the Discovery, against everything they loved about Next Generation, the original series, and if it's not perfection, it's crap. To a lot of Star Trek fans, and it's driving me crazy, and I'm worried that that's what's going to happen with Mass Effect. Because everyone's like, oh, it's another Andromeda, here it comes, this is going to be terrible, and blah blah blah.
I mean, I think they're going to be smart with that and distance themselves from the Andromeda Galaxy setting as a whole, and they're going to bring back Garrus, they're going to bring back Liara, either in a prequel or sidequel, or they're going to pick a canon ending and go with that.
I think they played into the bad press by canceling the next game and on the DLC. I think their moment to fix it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, time heals all wounds, and it will happen to Mass Effect as well.
Except for Star Trek, it didn't.
Star Trek is great.
It is great.
Discovery is great, and it's doing well enough to has a second that it got renewed to a second season. So
it's true.
The hardcore online Star Trek, fan base may have things to say, but it's doing well enough to where it warranted, CBS renewing it. So and you and me, you a hardcore, me a casual Star Trek fan, both enjoy it. So
I know. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I'm worried that they're going to let it stagnate. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Anyway.
So that's that. Do you have anything else to add, TJ, on that subject?
No. I mean, just all in all, it does really stink to see, the direction that it's going in. Just to know that a potentially really good single-player Star Wars game just isn't going to happen now. I mean, I think back to, like, when it comes to Star Wars, there was that game for Wii, that Star Wars game for Wii that was completely finished, and they just scrapped it.
Yep.
Did you guys ever hear about that?
The original Wii?
Yeah, the original Wii, not Wii U.
No, I knew about Battlefront 3 was really close to being finished. I know 1313 was pretty far along before just being canned.
No, there was a Star Wars game 100% finished. I want to say, I can't remember who the developer was, but they said it was in vein of the Rogue Squadron series, and it had like some other modes too. Like it had 1-to-1 lightsaber battles that supposedly worked the way that Wii motion controls were always supposed to work.
Huh.
And yeah, it jumped around through like the whole like Star Wars series and everything, and supposedly it was a great game. Like you can see there's videos online of it and stuff, but that game completely done, and they just said, oh well, no, the Wii's starting to die down, so we're just going to scrap it. And it's like just knowing that a game is totally finished. Like this game, we don't know how far along this game was. Did they say like when the game's expected release was, the Star Wars game that's getting canceled?
They said it was going to be fiscal year that started in March, so anytime from March 2018 to March 2019.
Okay, and they've been working on the game for what, like 5 years, I think?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, so see, like that even had to be close, but this Star Wars game for Wii, it's like it was finished, like completely done, and we're just never going to see it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
but they had the numbers, TJ. No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
All right. Well, it's a good topic, and
very good topic.
If you guys feel the need to chime in, our listeners, feel free to leave us a comment or an email. We'd love to hear your side of the story. So, but again, I completely agree with TJ. It is EA's fault, but not just EA's fault. It is the fault of just modern trends, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, and just to kind of cap it off, I think that if you feel strongly about this, you need to make sure to vote with your wallet. Don't buy the things that you think are damaging, and put your money into single player games and independent games, like buy Cuphead, and don't buy used things like that. Yep.
I'm so happy I don't buy used anymore, or I don't have to anymore.
Yep.
So nice.
Well, I even think too, like GameCube. Chibi Robo on GameCube is one of my favorite GameCube games, if not one of my favorite games of all time. And I love it. I think that game is almost perfect. It's exactly the type of game that I love. And then every other Chibi Robo game that has come out since then has been a completely different play style.
Oh.
Like totally different. Like the last one to come out was a side-scrolling platformer, when the first one was an open world like exploration game where you're this little tiny servant robot that lives in this house, and you have to go around like cleaning it and going on like all these adventures and stuff. So totally different. And it's like, it's because that game didn't sell. The people that bought it and loved it really loved it, but not enough people were out there to buy it. So they said, okay, well, we already built this series up, like people are familiar with the characters, so let's try a different play style. Okay, this one didn't do that good, let's change it up even more. So it's really frustrating, but it's, can you blame Nintendo for not releasing another full 3D open world Chibi Robo, or do you blame the gamers that didn't buy it?
Darn kids, get off my lawn.
Stupid kids don't even know what's good for them. They're still buying Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out over 4 years ago, and it's still in the top 10 charts like month to month.
Yeah, every month.
It is still a good game.
It is.
And even that, look at that. Another perfect. Oh, no, I'm not saying Grand Theft Auto 5 is not a good game, but even look at that. The other Grand Theft Auto games had single-player DLC.
Yep.
Grand Theft Auto 5 had none of it. They just focus on Grand Theft Auto Online because that's all that people are playing.
I just couldn't get into Grand Theft Auto Online.
No, me neither. So,
but the single player was so good. All right, so moving on though, the good topic, good chat, everybody. We're going to move on to the next item of BS that came out on Tuesday after our last. Didn't make me as angry because again, I'm not as much into like the online multiplayer matchmaking kind of stuff as I used to be, but it's still scummy and just goes to show like how far companies are willing to go to be scummy, I guess. I want to note that this is just a patent that was filed. It hasn't been officially implemented that we know of yet. But I think that's the most insidious thing about the thing I'm about to talk about is that we will never know when it's implemented. It's a patent. We know it exists, but Activision can do it whenever they want. So what I'm talking about is they basically issued a patent or got a patent approved that they can now manipulate their own matchmaking system to promote the usage of microtransactions. There's a few examples in here I want to give that kind of just bring the point home for me. It's in the patent. So it says, for instance, the microtransaction engine may match a more expert player with a junior player to encourage the junior player to make game-related purchases of items possessed and used by the expert player. A junior player may wish to emulate the expert player by obtaining weapons and other items used by this expert player. So it might... So in this case, it's basically saying that it's going to take a noob and put him with an expert player who has probably spent microtransactions and been like, oh man, I want to be like that guy. Here, he has this gun. Oh, let me buy that gun. It only costs like $2 or whatever. So it's manipulating the lesser player to be put up against good players to buy microtransactions. Versus what I believe we could all agree that we want matchmaking to be is just matching you with players of similar skill. So the game matches more fun. You know, it's not fun for noobs to be stomped on. It's not fun for most really expert players to play against just noobs and stomp on them. So that kind of sucks. There's another one that says that's really scummy as well. It says, for example, if the player purchased a particular weapon, the microtransaction engine may match the player in a gameplay session in which the particular weapon is highly effective, giving the player an impression that the particular weapon was a good purchase. This may encourage the player to make future purchases to achieve similar gameplay results. So after you buy an item, it specifically puts you in a position to win with either with said item or without said item. Either way, making you feel that the item you purchased was a good purchase, which would hopefully to them make you make more purchases. So I think it's kind of BS. I hate this, and gaming is dead to me.
But see, it all comes back to the people that buy it, the people that, you know, fight that guy and go, oh man, I want to be like that guy. Oh, okay, here's my real money. Just take it. I don't care. It
does, but it's getting to the point of manipulation. Just like, you know, there are people who spend $1 or $2 on microtransactions, but, you know, the way loot boxes and microtransactions are designed, it's to prey on people's addictive sensibilities. And so when people are being emotionally or mentally manipulated and doing these things, I think it's just truly scummy.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I feel like we're just going to get looped right back into what we were talking about.
I know. Both these news items came out like within an hour or two of each other, and I was about ready to like throw my computer out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens, because I mean, it's going to be like blatantly obvious if that ever gets implemented. So I guess we'll just see if they ever do, and if so, what's the first game to use it.
Well, I mean, and I don't even know if it's that underhanded, to be honest. In my opinion, it's kind of smart. You know, it's marketing, and it's what TV shows have been doing for years now. Like, it's not a coincidence that like you see ads for clothing that the actors were just wearing in the scene before. You know, like between scenes of shows. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but at the same time, like, I'm not planning on buying a random gun for $10 anyway. So, like, if someone's willing to, I guess that's their problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
It won't affect me either. I still think it's scummy.
Yeah, which is fine.
So, yay, gaming! Speaking of great news, Lego Dimensions was canceled, guys.
So we definitely won't go too far into this, but this does kind of piggyback off of what we were talking about. But yeah, I'm a huge Lego Dimensions fan. I have a pretty big collection. I don't have everything, but I do have at least one set from every single franchise that they released. As you can see, like as the years went on, the couple of years of the game since its initial release, you could see the quality of like the, not necessarily the Lego themselves, but like the worlds that these characters would unlock and the different franchises. You can kind of see the quality starting to go down, almost like they were losing the budget. Because like the first year, for example, I mean, having Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd come back to voice, Doc and Marty, and having these like original voice actors like Doctor Who, like they had I forget the guy's name. I don't know if you guys would know. He was the last Doctor.
I don't. I'm not.
Yeah, well, whatever. So him voicing the character. Even what's his name from Fantastic Beasts? Freddie, not Freddie Highmore. What am I talking about? Whatever his name is, coming back to voice his
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne, yeah, coming back to voice their characters for this game. Like it's so cool, and recording original dialogue. And then you see, like as it goes on, they stop doing that. It was other voice actors. Like even the newest Ghostbuster movie, they didn't pull from the movie. They had all original voice actors re-record a lot of that dialogue. So just as time went on, you saw the quality went down. I was so excited for the Beetlejuice world. That was one of the last ones to be released. And it was really cool, but it felt very empty. The missions were very basic, bare bones. It just felt like they could have done so much more. You could tell that they were kind of at the end of their rope. As someone that bought a lot of Lego Dimensions, my biggest gripe was at first it was really cool buying all those sets, getting all those little mini vehicles and stuff to build. But then as the collection got bigger and bigger, it's like, okay, I don't need another car. Like, why did Aquaman need to come with like a submarine when I already have Homer's submarine? And then you have to build it and you have to store these. I feel like that was the biggest mistake, was pricing these figures all to be the same. Like a base set was $13, and that would come with one character and one vehicle you build. I feel like they would have been a lot more successful if they would have just had character packs. Like just buy, let's see, like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like just buy Sonic for $6. It's his character. He unlocks the world. You don't need any vehicles to build or anything. Like, why couldn't they just do that? It just got really expensive.
Yeah.
And you're running out of room. Like, I'm sure kids, they're playing with Lego and stuff. They don't care. The more the merrier for them. But I feel like that's where they really missed the mark. And it's sad because they were doing something that no one else has ever really done before, taking all these franchises and really combining them into a single game. Like, it's a game I never would have dreamed would even happen, but they tried to get a little too big and it was a little too expensive. And I think that was their downfall. We
mourn its loss along with Disney Infinity.
We do. Goodbye. But the argument I always had with Lego compared to like Disney Infinity and even Skylanders, it's still Lego. Lego is not going anywhere. The Lego that came out originally in the 70s are still compatible with the Lego out now. So the way I see it, I knew the game wouldn't last forever, but all these Legos I was buying, now I have cool minifigures of all these characters I like. Now I have all these extra pieces to build stuff. So that was the one extra thing it had going for it.
That's pretty cool.
But goodbye, Lego Dimensions. I will miss you.
So let's get some good stuff. This is officially probably going to be one of the best weeks in visual pop culture ever, right? We have Destiny 2 coming out on PC. It's not a big deal for you, TJ, but it's a big deal for us PC players. I'm very excited to hop into Destiny on PC.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great. I'm happy.
That's on Tuesday. On Friday, we got Mario, Wolfenstein, and Assassin's Creed. We all know which games are going to be pushed to the side that day. But I'm still very excited, especially for Wolfenstein. The first Wolfenstein game was very, very good. And by all accounts so far, no reviews yet, but by all accounts, this one is just as good. So nice. I'm very excited for it. And then, of course, Stranger Things.
And this actually might be my first Assassin's Creed game that I play.
Nice.
We'll see.
I'm waiting till they release the educational mode.
That's going to be the best mode.
That's so funny to me, but I think it's cool that they're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I remember learning about Egypt a lot in like grade school, and I loved it at the time. Like I loved when we started talking about that in class and like when the time of the day that we'd talk about Egypt would come up during the few months that we, kind of covered it. So
Nice.
it's cool that they're doing that.
I think hands down, like Mario and Stranger Things is what I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Mainly because I took Friday and Monday off, so I'm also very excited for 4-day weekend to just destroy and just put so much time into these games.
Are you guys downloading Mario or?
I'm getting physical.
Wait, what's that?
Go ahead.
I'm getting physical copy. Best Buy Gamers Club.
Yeah, I'll be downloading it.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, is your guys' Best Buy doing midnight? A midnight
I believe
launch?
so. Our Best Buy is one of the very Nintendo-centric Best Buys.
Oh, cool.
So I imagine they were. I haven't checked yet, though. I probably should.
Well, Switch. One topic. I mean, we're not going to go into it, but since you said you're downloading it, Trent, one of the new updates for Switch this week was the ability to preload games, and I think Mario is one of the newest ones. So yeah, you might want to do that.
I saw that, and I meant to tell you, but I forgot, Trent.
Pulling my Switch down off the shelf.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this week. We're gonna have so much to talk about next week.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a big show.
So the embargo lifts at 6 a.m. Pacific on October 26th. So we should see lots of 10 out of 10s coming through the news that day as everyone.
I think Famitsu magazine in Japan. I think they always have 4 people review it. I think it got a 10, 9, 10, 10.
Yep, so 39 out of 40 was their score. So.
Holy crap.
And I will be shocked if this game does not get some sort of season pass.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like the amount of content is off the charts. That's one thing I'm so curious about. Some of the people, like the outlets that have played it and stuff, they said there's so much to do and there's something that happens in the end game after you beat it that will keep you playing for a very, very long time. So I can't wait to find out what that is.
Huh. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so we'll see. So
excited. So outside of this week, there's still some good things coming up. Thor Ragnarok has had reviews. Its review embargo has lifted, and it's very positive. I believe it's currently at 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I definitely still one of my most anticipated movies. The whole year I've been highly anticipating it, so I can't wait.
It's going to be very good, probably. So I like the direction they're taking on it.
Yeah, but Thor's not supposed to be funny, Ryan. Why is Thor funny now?
Because Guardians of the Galaxy happened.
How come Incredible Hulk talks so much?
Well, Thor's been funny since the first Avengers movie. Like, and Hulk talking is, it's, I don't know, people need to.
Well, I think the whole argument for Thor being the way he is was he spent so much time on Earth now, and look at the people he hangs out with. I mean, smart-ass Tony Stark, and, everyone. Like, all the people that he's around. And then Hulk, he's talking because he's been Hulk for the past 2 years. He hasn't been Bruce Banner. So.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that like, Bruce Banner, like, is still thinking it's Avengers 2 time, or at least he hasn't been Bruce Banner since Avengers 2. And so when he wakes up in Thor, he's going to be like, what? Where am I? How long has it been? Or something.
I don't know how closely you guys have paid attention to the trailers, but in the first trailer, remember the trailer where they're in an alley and Thor throws Mjolnir at Hela, and then she grabs it and breaks it? I mean, that's not spoiling anything in this trailer. In the newest trailer, they're not in an alley. They're in an open field.
Yeah,
that same thing happens.
Yeah, I did notice that.
I'm like, that's an interesting change. Kind of last minute, but I'm sure there's good reason.
All right, well, we're getting close on time. Let's hit up listener questions and topics.
Woo! So we talked about it a little bit already, but my friend Andy wants us to give our thoughts on Star Trek Discovery. So I didn't talk about it as much when we went over what we were watching. I'm really liking it. I thought this episode was one of the best ones they've done so far. I'm curious to learn more about the new security guy and if he is really a Klingon spy or not. And I read an article that I shared on my Facebook page earlier today. I thought it was really interesting that this is the first time Star Trek's main protagonist captain has been an unethical one. And I think that is very, very interesting.
They dropped 2 F-bombs.
That too.
Really?
believe the number of people on one of my Star Trek discussion groups that were upset about that.
Really? Oh
Yes.
man, I giggled at it.
I mean, it was a little forced, but I thought it was funny, and like it made Stamets way more likable.
Yeah.
Speaking of swearing and stuff, there was a recent interview where they talked about Stranger Things season 2, where the kids specifically asked to be able to swear more in the show.
Really?
That
Nice.
was kind of strange.
That's really funny.
Yeah, we'll see.
Kind of Stranger Things.
Yep.
I don't know. Like it really brought it to life, I would say, because that's how kids talk.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush. So
yeah,
even though they want to go all out,
it just needs to be done. It's a very fine line that you walk when you have like kids swearing and stuff. And yeah, I think pulled it off. And even when they swore in the first season of Stranger Things, it's like, well, yeah, that is how kids talk, but it's very easy to go overboard with it. So
it's true.
Well,
I think
sometimes kids have a hard time pulling off like saying it because it's funny, and whereas like making it actually fit the moment.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with kid actors in general, but I've actually been really impressed with the quality of kid actors I've been seeing lately. I used to hate them hands down no matter what, but
yeah.
Especially Stranger Things, they really won me over. So
yeah.
Let's see, and Jillian wants to ask us about Rebels. We watched this season premiere.
Red Bulls. I don't
Red
drink
Balls. It gives you wings. It's brought to you by Red Bulls.
Did you
Not
say
really.
red balls?
That's what I heard.
No. You heard what you wanted to hear.
Maybe.
So yeah, Star Wars Rebels. Trent and I actually saw the first half of the premiere at Star Wars Celebration, and so it was cool to kind of see it again, a little bit better edited. There was definitely a little bit of work that had been done since we originally saw it back in April, and it was also nice to see the second half of the premiere, so to speak.
We've been waiting on that cliffhanger for like 6 months now.
And honestly, like it was kind of lackluster.
It was.
We're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
They lived? Okay.
Oh, don't give it away.
I said they lived, and whoever's going to watch the first episode is going to watch the second one right after.
Well, I know, but anyway.
All right. The first half ends on a big cliffhanger where you think someone died, but then...
But now you're really giving it away.
Okay. That is not a spoiler at all.
It is new.
No, it's not.
Okay, that's fine. It is, but it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough of a spoiler. Anyone who watches the show has no idea. Even if they watch the show, they have no idea which character I'm talking about.
Until they get to the cliffhanger moment, and then they're like, oh, they're not really dead. It's fine.
Because they're going to start episode 2 and see 2 minutes into the next episode.
Yes, but they'll know before they see it, which is the definition of a spoiler.
Sorry for everybody who thinks that's a spoiler. Either way, that was like, oh, that's lame. But the rest of the episode was great.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. There's some really cool stuff. The action is awesome. Some of the timing was still a little bit off, especially with the humor, but it was overall very good.
I agree. I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Me too.
All right, listener Drew Nevitt has a question. He asks, are the new features on the Switch's port of Skyrim compelling enough to sell your copy on PS4, PS3, Xbox One, or Xbox 360?
Why would I can't sell my Steam copy of anything?
Yeah, sorry, Drew. Like, I know Trent and I we're PC gamers, so we have it on PC, and so as awesome as it is as on the Switch, I don't see a big need to even play it versus selling a copy I can't sell.
Well, I'm guessing he just meant, are you gonna like ditch that copy and go for the Switch version?
Yeah, and even if I would probably say no, even for games that I love like Doom, I'm so excited for it to go on Switch for Switch owners to experience it. But I believe I have the current penultimate version of it, or just ultimate version of it, not penultimate, on PC, and so I feel no reason to go back and revisit the game on Switch. So.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends. I mean, there's so many games out right now that I'm still trying to catch up on. I know it comes out, I think, November 18th or something like that.
I can tell you. I have it open.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's sometime in November. 17th. November 17th. So yeah, I guess it kind of depends. If there's like a lull, I might jump back into it. I never finished Skyrim. I think I put like 30 or 40 hours on it on 360 when it originally came out. So it's been a long, long time since I played. And, it's one of those things that we talked about before, like, kind of voting with your wallet. You know, it's good to support these games like this because everyone's making a big deal about it. But we'll see how Skyrim and Doom and Wolfenstein. We'll see how they sell. But yeah, just a portable Skyrim. And I heard it plays very well. Yeah, it's interesting.
I wish it well, but I'll not be participating.
Same.
Understandable.
There's a number of Switch games that I'm really excited for. If I can get the same experience on the PC, I experienced this with Zelda a lot. Zelda was kind of hard to play on the go. Because where are you really going to be able to sit down and play for half an hour or more? And if that's the case, then why aren't you at home?
Yeah.
And I guess like trips are the exception, and I can see things like that being super fun. But like, I think the Switch is really gonna shine with games like Mario, and like Mario Kart has been amazing. Like I've been playing that still. So.
Yeah, I guess the way I see Skyrim, like just like with Zelda and how big Mario is going to be and stuff, just knowing that you have games of that size with you, like on the go, like even Stardew Valley.
Oh,
I mean, just knowing that, you have to invest a lot of time into that. I played it a little bit so far, but I feel like I really need to sit down with it and just knowing like, okay, that's on my Switch now. So if I ever do travel somewhere and I got a couple hours to kill, all right, and I'll just dive into that. So
it's true. I definitely am very excited about it. And its possibilities.
I'm excited to try it in VR.
Woo!
All right, next question. Go for it.
This is from my buddy John Steino. He wants to know our favorite or most memorable episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I could go first on this one. My memory is very choppy on this one, but it had something to do with
I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah. It had something to do with like a girl being transformed into a lizard and the lizard transforming into the girl.
Oh, the chameleons.
The chameleons. And
Tia and Tamara Mowry.
What?
That was Tia and Tamara Mowry from Sister Sister.
Yeah, it was. You're right. I want to go with that one, mainly because it sticks out in my mind because, I know a lot of like quote-unquote horror stuff or even kids horror stuff kind of did this at the time. But I remember that episode like shocked me because it had a unhappy ending. And even as a kid, I was like, what? No! You can't do that.
Yeah.
Because basically the story is, I'm going to kind of spoil it here, but...
I think that's okay.
Yeah. So, like, this girl gets bitten by, what'd you say it was, a chameleon?
A chameleon, yep.
Yeah, and so, they switch bodies. So the chameleon becomes the girl, and the girl becomes the chameleon. And so this chameleon is, like, walking around being this girl's life, and this girl, the girl who's now the chameleon, is trying to, I guess, bite her again, if I remember correctly, to switch back.
Yep.
She does water was involved. Like once, like, sorry, my memory is so shaky. I haven't seen something.
I don't even want to help with this one. I'm enjoying this
because I remember at one point the girl bites the girl chameleon again, and then they're both girls, and then they do that moment like which one's the real one, and like the friend has to like spray him down with water, and whoever gets sprayed with water becomes the chameleon again. So. I remember them doing the thing to where like they're both girls are girls at that point, and then but it ends up being the chameleon, the quote unquote evil one, that stays the girl because she tricked the friend into thinking she was a real one, and then after that she kills all the chameleons.
Yeah,
like she drops them down a well, like so the girl and anyone else who's been transformed are all dead because she mentions that she got bodies for all of her family. And so she gets bodies for all her family members. All the chameleons are now humans, and all the humans get drowned in a well. The end.
Yeah, for a kids show, a lot of them did kind of have happy endings, but there are some, and it's a lot of the standout episodes that really do have downer endings. And it's just, like you said, you don't really see that in kids shows.
Yeah, like I said, it mildly shocked me as a kid. I was like, wow, okay.
There's one episode. It's one of my favorites. It's called The Dark Music, The Tale of the Dark Music. This kid and his bratty sister and his mom inherit this house from an uncle that they never really met. Didn't really know him, but he died. They inherited the house. They moved in. So the kid discovers in the basement there is a room, and whenever he plays music, a monster in that room opens the door, and it turns into like whatever you're afraid of. So this kid discovers this, and there's a bully in the neighborhood that is picking on him. So he tricks the bully into going into his basement, where he then blasts music. This monster comes out, and when the kid goes down there to say, okay, so this is what you get for messing with me, like, come on out, he realizes the kid was devoured by this monster, and the monster rewards the kid with a brand new bike that the bully destroyed. And the monster tells him, if you continue to feed me, I'll give you whatever you want. And then you hear
that one.
Yeah, and you hear his bratty sister upstairs saying, you need to make me something to eat. And he looks at the camera and smiles, implying that he's going to feed his bratty sister to this demon.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Amazing.
Absolutely awesome.
Man, now I'm going to watch the show.
The kids around the campfire, they're like, you didn't really feed his sister to him, did he? And the kid telling the story is like, well, no, but he was thinking about it. He warned her. But it's like, this guy turned into a serial killer. Like his uncle. He got a brand new bike for killing a bully.
It's true.
I loved it.
I love that show so much. It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
It's a good show. I watched it pretty religiously around its prime. So.
And my most memorable episodes are the ones you just described, because I've never seen it.
That's okay.
I didn't have Nickelodeon when I was a kid, so...
I know you don't really like horror stuff, Trent, but some of these episodes, like, I can even recommend some to you. They're worth, like, looking up. I think they're all on YouTube. But you can... The whole series, I actually just bought it on Vudu the other day, all digital. The whole series is on sale for $20, and it's, like, 64 episodes. But,
each episode is just a standalone, kids horror story.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the way you guys are describing it. It reminds me of that, like, Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Is that what that show is
Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, with the really creepy, like, skeleton dude that would read the stories from the book and stuff.
It's very similar to that, but for kids. But yeah, I mean, it's really not. Some stuff's hokey, but for the most part, like, there's still just it's a good, fun show.
Nice. Cool. All right,
I think, really quick, I feel like that should be a permanent segment of the show. Ryan remembers Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh my gosh.
Week he has
that
to
was amazing. Like,
I'm glad you liked it.
There's girls and a chameleon, and I think there's, like, water involved. I don't remember how.
The chameleon bites the girl, so then the girl has to bite the chameleon, and then that water comes into play again.
I think that was that would have been my favorite part of the episode. I think.
I already have a like a let's play, but where we watch that, they're doing riff tracks where we watch that episode. Let's give commentary on it. Oh, this is the part where water becomes involved, I guess.
All right, so our last two-part question from Ben Helmers. The first part, he wants us to talk about juggling gaming and relationships.
Yeah, so this is a good topic. I'm kind of sad that I know the episode's running long and that we don't really have more time to talk about it. But
go for it. We've already
well, just me being like being a married man. I've been with my it was our 3-year wedding anniversary, but I've been with my wife for it'll be 11 years in January. That's one thing she's always been really supportive of. She knows gaming is like my biggest hobby. It's like the thing I love to do most. But it's really just finding that balance of when you should play games and when you should, hang out with your significant other. One thing that I always said was I would never make my significant other sit there and watch me play games, especially if they didn't want to. I had a lot of friends growing up where they'd invite me over to play games, their girlfriend or boyfriend would be there, and then they're just sitting there watching. You could tell they're bored out of their mind. So I never made my wife do that, and she understands that. She appreciates that. There are some games that we do play together, and when that happens, it's great. The last game we played together was Life is Strange. That's, kind of like watching a TV show, but we were both really into it, and we just had a great time. Yeah. But you can't force it. If your significant other doesn't love video games as much as you can't make them play it. So
I like to think of the movie Ratatouille, where the chef is always like, anyone can cook. And I believe that anyone can be a gamer to some extent, either a small gamer, large gamer, casual gamer, hardcore gamer. Anyone can be a gamer. And so it's just a matter of finding the type of games that appeal to certain types of people. And yeah, if you get that Venn diagram where you and your significant other like us both like a certain type of game, like you mentioned, that's where you've hit jackpot, so to speak.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to mirror everything that TJ says. I just want to kind of add on, just good communication. Just make sure that you and your significant other know when to communicate. Like, hey, can we do something together versus you playing games tonight? Something to that effect. Or
yeah, well, and it's interesting. Like you, Ryan, are in a relationship where you are both gamers.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's and that's something I noticed. It's funny Ben asked this question. He's actually my ex. We would play a lot of games together, and then we would also be in a situation where I'd be playing on the PC and he'd be in the same room playing on the TV, and it was almost like we were still spending time together, even though we were playing two different games. We were just kind of like our super introvert spending time together. But even it's something that I realized in the time we were together, that even if you both are gamers, you still have to have that communication as to when should we go do something else. When should I invite them to play this game with me, or recognize that they don't really like this kind of game.
Yeah. And there's a lot of give and take involved. If your significant other isn't into games, but they respect the fact that you are, and they let you do that, you need to also, respect something that they're into that you're not necessarily into. Like my wife loves reality TV. There's very little of it that I do genuinely enjoy, but I know that's what she loves. So, hey, you want to go watch your shows for a couple hours? Fantastic. Go do it. Like, you don't have to be together every waking moment, but if you have respect for what the other person is into, then it just makes things so much easier and so much better.
Lift each other up with their hobbies and interests, rather than
Yeah, and just make sure you don't ever take it for granted, because you don't want them to ever, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Regret giving you the support in that hobby.
Yeah.
If they give you don't take a mile.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Like when there are big games coming out, like Mario, I tell my wife ahead of time, listen, this is going to be one of those games where I'm probably going to be playing all day. But since it doesn't happen all the time, that's okay.
Yep.
So good question, Ben.
Very good question. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, me too. And then we already talked about this a little bit, but he is excited about Mario Odyssey and wants our thoughts about this Friday's release.
We're not excited at all.
Yeah, I couldn't care less.
Actually, I didn't take a day off work to make sure I could have all day to play it or anything.
You took the day off Friday too?
Yep. Not Monday, just Friday.
Wow.
It's going to be a great Friday.
I was kind of in a semi-unique position, is that all my time off is use or lose it before the end of the year, and I had at the beginning of October I had like 11 days to use. So I'm like, well, I'll use one on this day. I'll use one on this day. Star Wars comes out on this day. I'll use one then. Kind of thing.
I was in a very similar situation. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to hopefully next week's show where the three of us have had a lot of time to play it and stuff and talk about it. I feel like our show next week is basically just going to be Mario Odyssey and Stranger Things.
Pretty much.
Probably some sprinkling of Destiny in there.
Yeah, true.
But I have not been this excited about a Mario game or even just a video game for a long time. So I'm stoked.
Yeah.
But it lives up that the unbelievable levels of hype we put on it.
Yes. I think even if it doesn't, it's still going to be a fantastic game.
It will. Yeah. I have no doubt in my mind. All right, well, Trent, want to take us out?
Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of the Brief Nerdity Podcast. Please continue to let us know topics and questions that you want us to talk about. You can reach out to us on our social media pages, Gmail or our Gmail account, briefnerdy@gmail.com. Go over to briefnerdy.com/iTunes, where you can go to our iTunes page and leave us a comment or a rating if you would like. And once again, we hope you will join us again next week. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Sorry about the Star Wars spoilers.